Okay, so I've laid out all of the different materials that I need to put this battery box together. Now, the main goal of this is to run a trolling motor on the back of my kayak. So I've got here my lithium iron phosphate battery, and it's a 50 amp hour battery. Has a 50 amp hours of the rated capacity, and maximum discharge current is also 50 amps, which is going to be more than enough to run the trolling motor, which has a discharge current of max 40 but consistently 20. Now, because it's going to be on a kayak, I want it to be waterproof. So I've got this black bar shockproof and waterproof case here. I needed to find something that was going to be very similar size, so I can have the smallest possible package. And this is all I could find that was really be the perfect size for what I need, not too big. Voltmeter, that's going to be able to tell me my voltage of the battery. I've got a few Anderson plugs I'll be putting in. I've got a push switch here, which is a momentary switch that'll only turn on as you're pushing it down. That's for the voltmeter, so the voltmeter doesn't drain battery unless when I need it to. Some little crimp connectors. I've got some extra Anderson connectors as well. Contact points for my spare Anderson plugs I have. Watersnake circuit breaker, 50 amp. So it's a resettable circuit breaker. So if there is too much current going through to the motor or whatnot, it'll trip, cut the circuit, and then I can reset it by pressing that button there. Little inline fuse that'll go for my 12 volt socket, just for extra sockets and power. I've got 6mm cable, twin core, which I'm going to use to wire up 12 volt connector. I've also got some thicker cable here, 50 amp rated, which will be more than enough then to connect onto my Anderson plug to then run the actual motor. I've also then got a trailer connector for the Anderson plug. The reason I went with this is because it has the cover flap on it, so that when it's not in use it remains still watertight or water resistant, and then you just lift the cover when you need to access the actual Anderson plug. And I've got a bit of conduit if I need that. But anyways, I'll set you up and I'll show you how this is going to go together. Alright, so first of all, it's going to open up. It's got a foam padded top and bottom. This battery here, once lifted in, sits pretty much perfectly in there. And with that foam, as I shut it down and lock it up, it's firmly in there. It's not going anywhere. I can turn it upside down and it doesn't move. So absolutely spot on, perfect. I'm really happy with how that came out. I'm then also going to be stuffing the sides with a bit of additional foam that came spare. So it came with these bits of foam spare in there for maybe if you're storing camera equipment or something in there. I'm going to cut this up and stick it down the sides when I'm completed, just to make sure that it is really firm. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to try and do is actually mount this trailer plug. This is going to be the primary outlet for the trolling motor. So it's got the shield on it, opens up, okay, nice and clean. That is going to mount over on this side here, probably somewhere along the lines of there, so that can open up, plug in, and away you go. There we are. Okay, so what we've got is a little indicator light, and looks like we've got two cables to go onto that. And then I have to install the Anderson plug in here as well. Alright, I've decided I'm going to mount this on the left hand side here. I'm going to install it somewhere around there, roughly. Cables will come out and go through the box here. I've got some rubber grommets for that. But then that's going to open up, then you can access the plug here. The reason I'm not putting it right on the edge is because once you have an additional Anderson plug plugged in, these cables will be quite exposed and can get knocked. So by being in there, they're a little bit more protected. So what you'll see me doing now is actually just installing that, or this block around here, and that's going to be the starting place. And then I can figure out where the holes need to be for cabling and go from there. Alright, so I've got this now to a stage where this is firmly attached. You can open it up, you can see how it's going to actually attach in there. It's looking quite nice, and then nice and waterproof. So obviously being out on a kayak, it's going to be exposed to water at some point. Now, the only thing I do want to now go ahead and do is shorten these little bolts here, which are protruding a little bit. So obviously the battery is going to be in here. I don't want the battery running into and potentially being damaged or whatnot by these protruding bolts. So I'm just going to go ahead, cut those off. Okay, so from my measurements, I need to cut off 5 mil or half a centimeter from each of these. I'm going to do that just by using a little sort of Dremel tool. Alright, so I've just installed all these again. I'm just going to test fit the battery back in here, make sure that it still fits. Yeah, with plenty of room down this side as well, just to show you how much room I'm dealing with. Alright, so I got a little bit of room down that side. Why that's important is because I now need to get this circuit breaker installed as well. Now the idea is that it's going to just slot down the side here, hook up to the battery there, and I think that's going to be fine. And then I just need to get this cable run outside and into that Anderson plug trailer connector on the side here. So now I'm just going to try and figure out where these cables are going to go. For that I am using a relatively thick cable. I think it's a 10 AWG cable. It's a leftover from when I was doing the battery box in the back of my car, and I was running a few Anderson plugs in there. Perfect. So they're going to go through a grommet to keep it waterproof. They are going to go in here. Alrighty, so you'll just see me drilling these holes and inserting these two little rubber grommets in there. I just snuck these cables through. They were a little bit tight, which is good because I want it to be waterproof. But in order to actually get it through those rubber grommets, Sprayed it with a bit of RP7, just a bit of a lubricant on the ends and inside the grommets so I could slide them through. They're now in there really snug, which is fantastic. So I'm pretty confident that that's going to be pretty watertight. This is it from the other side here. So you can see there's two cables coming through. So this top one is going to be the negative cable. That's going to be running over to that side of the battery. This is going to be the positive cable, and it is going to be running onto the Watersnake circuit breaker, onto this side here, and then up to the positive side of the battery from there. Once I've routed that, I'm going to then actually install the Anderson plug and get all this all hooked up. Right, so I'm just going to now attach one of these guys on here. Once I strip it back, that should be the correct size. Heat shrink it. I'm going to bolt that onto this and then heat shrink this whole unit as well. Alright, so made a little bit of progress. Essentially last time what you saw was me attaching one of the cable lugs to the circuit breaker, which is now down in the bottom there, all covered in red electrical tape. I then just mounted the other end of it to the positive terminal of the battery. It fits really snugly in here. I don't think I even need to bother trying to mount it anywhere. I think that's really nice. And then I didn't bother filming this because it's the exact same process, but I just crimped another terminal onto here, heat shrinked it in black heat shrink, and attached it onto the negative terminal. So that's, these cables then are now live. So if I were to just test that, I've got just a voltmeter here. This is our negative terminal, so I'm going to just hold that onto the negative side of this voltmeter, and we've got positive. And from what you can see, once it loads, 13.2 volts. So it's working, which is fantastic. So now I'm just going to disconnect this, pull the battery out, because I need to now actually fit the Anderson plug and crimp it all so that it sits like that. Cool. Alright, so I've just taken off the plug. Now this is what the Anderson plug looks like, and essentially I've got these two high current terminals which are going to be crimped onto here, bit of heat shrink, and then they slot in and clip over these little tabs. So just so that I can figure out how much I need to cut off, I had a look on here, and essentially the back of the plug lines up with these, with essentially these lines here, or these holes, or close enough anyway. So I know that the plug's going to sit roughly there. Okay, that's one. I'm just going to make sure that these are equal length. There we go. So my two cables, I'm going to strip them back. That much to there. So the length of the connector. Roll it around. I don't want to cut any of the actual fibers inside. I'm just going to repeat that for the positive terminal, and then I'll show you how it goes together. Okay, both of them clicked in. As we can see, those tabs are clicked in there, nice and secure, which is fantastic. Now I did decide I'm not going to actually wire up this light. I don't have any use for it really, and it's just, you know, really thin wires. I'm going to see things going wrong. I don't need a light to tell me that something's plugged in and turned on. So in that case, what I'm going to do is actually just snip these a little bit shorter. I'm going to leave them in here, tuck them up, in case down the track I do feel like I want to or need to wire them up. Like, they're there, I can do it. But looks pretty good, looks nice and neat. Nice. Alrighty, and that's where we're going to leave it for today. It's not 100% finished, but it's to a point now where I feel comfortable using it, and then I'll make changes as I see fit. But for the main reason or main part was to put this outlet in here with the Anderson plug. Turned out really nice with the grommets, so it should stay essentially waterproof, or at least water resistant. Still nice and sealed around the outside. You pop these latches and it opens up to the battery. So I've got in here the 50 amp circuit breaker with the 50 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery from Renogy. I've temporarily wired up a voltmeter just in here. The reason I've put that there is because it's a bit long, and so it doesn't fit in the space if I was to mount it on the outside. So I'll be looking for a new voltmeter. I would like to get one with a battery level indicator on it as well, just to make it easier just to check percentages rather than having to sort of do the calculations with the voltage. But for now, that's wired in. Those cables are attached onto here through the same way that I attached to these ones. So that's why I didn't film it. But it's in there. Add a little bit of foam around the outside, so it's in there really snug. Doesn't need any tie downs or anything like that. And that way, when I pick it up, it's not too heavy. I would say maybe 6 or so kilograms, maybe 7 kilograms. And then what I'm going to do now is I've actually pulled out, mind the mess, got a little bit crazy with the wiring, but I've pulled out my battery charger. I've got it set to the lithium mode. For my other batteries, I normally have it on fast charge, but seeing this is the first time, I want to make sure that everything's good. I just got it on slow charge so it doesn't pump too much current in. I'm going to try and do this one-handed. But you open that up, that'll click in, nice. And just to check that the voltmeter is actually working, it says 13.2 volts on that voltmeter, and over here we're at 13.2 as well. That's the charger kicking in, so it's going to start ramping up the charge now. So as you can see, it's at 13. Sorry, that light above's kind of in the way. There we go. 13.4. 13.4. I'm just going to let this charge up now, make sure there's no issues with it. So it can be charged through this port as well as an outlet, so it can be quite handy as well. We'll probably charge it with the lid open, just in case any heat build up, but I'll monitor that. If I don't think there's any heat building up, then I can shut it up and never really have to open it. But yeah, turned out really good. I'm happy with it. It's pretty much compact as I can get it, seeing as though it's going on that kayak. Cool. Feel free to throw some comments in that down below if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. But I will throw in an outlet down here probably in the future, and have an external voltmeter with battery gauge on it somewhere, whether it's on the front or on the side or even on the top here, so that I don't have to open it up to check the battery percentage or voltage. Yep. But please let me know if you have any questions. Please consider subscribing. Always got new projects on the way. Yeah, thanks for watching.